Welcome back to Sheet Metal is Fun. Today we're going to make a table. Now this is the long leg version. We got a little bit of a twist on today's project. Once we get inside, I'll show you what that twist is. I'll see you inside. Welcome back to Sheet Metal is Fun. When my wife and I began this journey, we were just wondering, is this something that we could do? And even is it something that we should do? Can we put something out there that somebody might benefit from? And you guys have been so kind. You've been so kind with your comments. And we really believe that we're putting something out that if you take what we're teaching and apply it to your life in some small way, it can make your life a little bit better. So, along those lines, I just wanted to tell you thank you. Thank you for everything. We took this on as an experiment, and you have made it wonderful, and we are so glad to be doing it. So, along those lines, look at this. We started an email address that if you make something from one of our lessons, a tool tray, a funnel, a squared around, an organizer bin, a bookshelf, then we asked that you would send us a photograph. So we have sheet metal is fun at yahoo.com, and we've had several people, an awesome amount of people, send in the things that they've made after being inspired by our lessons. So look at this. We have. Can you see that from there? You want me to move a little closer to you? All right. So this is. I have written it on the back. This is Carlo from New York State. Look at this. He made a pencil box. So even though we have not had a pencil box lesson, what I really like about this is these lessons are not meant for you to copy measurement per measurement. What I want you to do is learn the process and become familiar with how to accomplish your project. And so even though we haven't done a pencil box, look at this. Carlo took the lesson that he learned from our channel and he made this awesome pencil box. This is the divider. This is what it looked like when he laid it out. And down here in the corner, here's his pencil box full of pencils, pens. Awesome. Carlo from New York State. Sweet. So that's number one. He's going in our book, Fabulous Fabricators. Who doesn't want to be in that book? All right, second one. We're going to do three today. Second one is Ernesto from Montreal, Canada. So Ernesto made two tool trays like ours from our tool tray lesson. He made one for his son and one for his son-in-law. Who doesn't want a dad or a father-in-law like that? Look at those things. They're beautiful. Nice job, Ernesto. From Montreal, Canada. You're going into the Book of Fabulous Fabricators, right next to Carlo from New York. And finally, our third one of the night, Severio. I want you to get a good look at that beautiful creation. Severio is from Italy. I forgot to ask him what region of Italy, but if you look right here, you can see Severio made a tool tray, but he also made himself a bending unit, a little brake out of some angle iron. So this Severio, man, he's crafty, and he's going to go a long way in life. Look at that. So this would be an inspiration to some of you that you could make your own bending machine, your own bending brake. You can make stuff at home. All right, I think that does it. So that's Silverio, Ernesto. Oh, Carlo, look at all three of them end in O. So these are the next three in our fabulous fabricators. Let's open that up. Man, you guys are awesome. How cool is this? All right, baby. Put that somewhere good. Fabulous fabricators. So now we have the table that we showed you at the beginning of the lesson. And this is a table that we made a while back. It goes with our camping chuck box. So like I said earlier, on our lessons, I'm not expecting you to copy me. That's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is take what we're teaching and apply it to your life. You may apply it in something totally different. You might watch a tool tray video and make a chuck box. So this is the chuck box that we use when we go camping. And since I'm Ken the sheet metal dude, obviously it's got stainless steel dividers. Look at this. This is a napkin holder. This was a round circle that we just bent. And we have smaller ones that we use for taco holders. Look at that. If you watched our organizer bin lesson, you might recognize how we made an organizer bin. And there's a channel in here that it registers in the chuck box. So this is something that you could make. Use your mechanical thinking. It doesn't have to be sheet metal. Look, you can use what you've learned in sheet metal fabrication to make something in wood. I did. And if you're watching these lessons, you're probably pretty crafty. So I want to show you how the chuck box, my wife and I carry the chuck box by the handles. And the table, the legs are straight on the table because the table fits on top. So now we grab the handles, and whenever we pick up the chuck box, we get to carry the table for free. I hope you guys like that. So that's a visual aid. But today, we're not just going to make a rectangular table, because my way of thinking is, if you can make a rectangle table, you can make a square table. If you can make a square table, could you make a triangle table? This is the little nugget that we're going to make today. And come on in a little closer. We're going to go through this. We're going to start with, let me just give you one good look. This was a 16-inch round circle that we cut out. And then these are the 3 legs. And we folded the hem over on all the legs so they're not sharp. I've never even seen a triangle-shaped table before, but wow. Wow. All right. Now, so if you know how to make a triangle-shaped table, a rectangle table is way easier. You can make the legs as long as you want. You can make a long leg triangle table. Short, you can make a short leg triangle table. So let's go ahead and break this down into its smaller components and get going on it. Let's see, was there something I wanted to... Oh yeah, our last lesson had soldering in it, and I bought this soldering iron. I really like it. You'll have to go to our last lesson with the heart-shaped box and soldering from the heart. It came with a chisel tip, and that just doesn't give us the control that we want. So I filed 2 of the sides down on the chisel to make it a 4-sided tip. This is going to give us a lot more control. So if you were making the heart-shaped box last time, when we soldered this together, the chisel tip didn't give us the pinpoint control that we really wanted. So it made the solder wander, and it got a little wide on us. So I took a file and I filed this down. That's what I did. First, I looked on their site to see if they had one, and I couldn't find one. Maybe you'll find one. But heart-shaped box. All right, so what we're going to do, first thing we're going to do in today's project, our triangle table, we're going to cut a 16-inch round circle. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. "16-inch round circle." So what I've done is I've taken our dividers. I've already got it set at 8, but let's undo that. Get our ruler out. All these dimensions, they're just what I chose. They're random dimensions. This is a 16-inch circle. You could do an 8-inch circle. You could do any size circle you want. But today just happens to be a 16-inch circle. And this material is 26 gauge galvanized. All right. So since it's a 16-inch circle, we're going to use an 8-inch radius. So the way I like to do that, set one leg of my dividers at 8 and the other leg at 16. Now what I do is just always double check yourself every chance you can. So I'm at 8 and I'm at 16. Now I just want to take that and make sure that it goes to 0. And it does. So my math is right. 8 is half of 16. So this is our radius. Now, in order to conserve material, I want you to come in kind of close on this one, because what I want to do... All right, so we have our dividers set on 8 inches. We've double checked it to make sure that 8 is half of 16. Now, in order to conserve material, let's not just go out in the middle. What I'm going to do is take this radius, which is what we have on here, and I'm just going to go to the edge of my sheet and make a real small line right here. I'm using my dividers along the edge of the sheet, and I'm making a mark right over here. It's right there. If you can't see it, you're going to have to just trust me on that one. So now I'm going to take that same dimension. I'm going to go to this side. Now, I don't want to try to cut my piece off the end of the sheet. So we're going to move up a half and in a half. So if we go right here, look at that. So here's the intersection that we got from our dividers. We're going to move up and in. Let's put a mark on there. We don't want to make the mark too severe, because that's going to be a belly button anyway. We're going to see that in our project. So I'm using this hand to anchor the dividers into the prick mark, and then this hand to scribe the line. Hopefully you can see.
That's good.
You got a good one right there? All right. Now, we have a lesson called sawing versus shearing, and what it will do is show you that no matter what you have, if it has been sheared, it has a smooth side and a sharp side. So what I'm going to do first is we're just going to go around here. I'm leaving myself roughly a ½ inch outside of my keeper, my pattern, our project. You never go to the end of your snips unless you're notching. Right now we're not notching. So, some of you that watch all of our lessons, let's just get rid of that. Who needs that laying around? Or this. Let's get that out of the way. So anytime you're shearing, it's roughly 85-15. 85% of the energy that you're producing goes into performing the shearing function. Roughly 15% goes into spreading the pieces apart. So what we're going to do first is we're just taking off a big part. So now we're ready to come back and really cut the piece. So, all right, here we go. Now we're really on it. I like these offset snips. It keeps your hand out of harm's way. Also, these snips don't care. There's no preference. If you would rather cut with the snip on the bottom like this, no trouble. Some days I like it one way, some days I like it another. I'm only leaving this all connected because it's less cleanup. I could cut it like every time I go 4 inches, I could cut it off, throw it in the trash. But then this is going to save me all those trips if I just let it hang. It's not in our way. The snips don't care. We can do it from the top. When you're cutting, always keep your snips perpendicular to the work. The work is whatever we're making. So don't roll your snip over. Don't lay it over this way. Perpendicular to the work. Never go to the end of your snips. Anytime you're shearing, which is what we're doing here, we're shearing. Anytime you're shearing, you're actually stretching the metal to its point of failure. I talked earlier about there's always a good side and a bad side. If you go to the hardware store, pick up a flat washer, you'll always notice there's a good side. And if I flip it over, this side is not as good. And what we're doing is, when we're shearing, I'm going to try to show you, if we looked at the edge of this metal, it looks like this in a microscope. We call it a hawkbill. So anytime you're shearing, you're always stretching to the point of failure. That's what a shear does. A saw cuts differently. A saw, if we were going to cut that with a saw, we can cut it straight off. But if you're going to shear, there's always going to be a hawkbill. There's always going to be a finished side, and there's always going to be a sharp side. Whether it's hand shears, electric shears, or the circle cutter, there's always going to be a smooth side and a sharp side. So this is the sharp side. This is the smooth side. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, we're going to make a triangle, so let's figure out what our diameter is, 16 inches. We're going to do 16 times 3.14. 50 and 0.24. Let's divide that by 3. 16.74, so that's 16 3/4. Anytime I get a number like that, it isn't going to hurt. Write it down somewhere. Then if we bump the calculator and we wonder what it was, we have it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to step this circle off into 3 even spaces. So I'm just making a random mark right there. This is a water-based pen. I really like them because you can wipe them off with any kind of liquid. So now we know 16 3/4 is 1/3 around the circumference. We took the diameter times pi, and we divided that. That gave us the circumference. Now we're going to start. I'm going to take that random mark, and I'm going to roll this out. And at 16 3/4, I'm going to put a mark. Now, just so we don't have to do math, let's just go back and start all over again. Going to go to 16 3/4. We could have gone to 33 1/2. We could have done 16 3/4 times 2 would be 33 1/2. Now, let's double check ourselves. If we're right, this mark should come out at 16 3/4. There we go, 16 3/4. Now we've divided our circle into 3. Now, I'm going to transfer this mark to the other side. We talked already about whenever you shear, you have a good side and a bad side. And we're going to bend these up, which will leave the good side out here. One of the things over the years that I've learned is if you take a standard knife sharpener that you can get in almost any hardware store, it makes a really good deburring tool. So we're just going to go around the perimeter of our round triangle. Again, the fact that we're making a triangle table, this is just an exercise, and what I want you to do is I want you to take what you learn and apply it to what you want to make. Are you going to make a triangle table? I don't know. Maybe not. Let's go over to the break and bend this up. All right, so we have our 16-inch diameter circle. We've stepped it off. We took the circumference and divided that by 3, and now we have 3 even spaces. But this is the good side. Remember, when we sheared, we have a good side and a bad side. So we're going to put that down, and we are going to go to these 3 marks. We're using this is a 10-foot handbrake. If you go to our lesson on how to make a tool tray, we made the tool tray without using any of these really awesome tools. So now I'm clamping it on there. We're going to bend it up. When this is flat like a table, that's 90 degrees. We've been up 2 sides. Now we're going to bend up our last side. This is the clamping handle. This is what clamps the stock in the brake, and this is the bending handle. So now back to, we're going to clamp it there. Clamp it there. All right. Going to bend it up till this is flat like a table. There we go, 90 degrees. Now, look at that. Look at that. It's almost a table and we haven't even put legs on it. Look at this tool tray. This is all of our stainless steel hardware. We use our nuts, stainless steel nuts and bolts go in a separate tool tray. All right, let's go back over to the table and notch our legs and we'll bring them back here and bend them up. All right, now we've bent up our 16-inch diameter circle into a triangle. Now, let's make our legs. I put a taper on these just because I thought they looked cool, but you could make it straight down if you wanted. So this is the drawing that I've made, and this gives me my cut size. It's 8 inches by 6 inches. And this is the pattern for our legs. We're going to make 3. It's a triangle, so it's going to have 3. So I cut 3 pieces, 8 by 6, 26 gauge galvanized. We use a lot of 26 on these lessons. It's very compliant, it bends well, it finishes well, and it's very robust. You can, if you watched the organizer bends, I made those 40 years ago and I still use them every day. And they are made of 26 gauge. That one's not, that's the one we made in our lesson. So we have 3 pieces here, 8 inches by 6 inches. Well, you guys weren't looking like one of those bacon shows. I went ahead and notched the first one. So this is the pattern for our legs. So we have a line down the middle. Then we have a 2.5 inch over here, 2.5 over here. We have a 1/2 inch I've added to the top for a hem, 1/2 inch on the bottom, 1/2 inch down the sides, and this is 1 inch right here. And since we get to make this table any way we want, I chose 1 inch because the blade on our combination square is 1 inch. So let's go through that. Let's take our scribe that we made on one of our past lessons, and we're going to go all the way around the perimeter. There's a half, half, all right. Now, I cut these to 7 inches. Look at that. All right, don't go anywhere. Wait right there. Don't look. Don't look. All right. You guys didn't see that, did you? All right, 8 by 6. I wrote it down and then didn't do it. Now we have 8 by 6, 8 by 6, 1/2 inch all the way around because we have a 1/2 inch hem, half, and these are in a half from both sides. So now let's measure to the middle. It's 6, so half of that is 3. I like to mark with a scribe whenever I can. It's not a real consumable, and the scribe line is so fine and so precise that you don't have to wonder what side of the line do I want you to be on. So let's go back to this distance right here. I made it 1 inch because I have 1 inch mark right here. And now I'm going to take my combination square, the blade of which is 1 inch. Bam, 1 inch. Move it over here. Pow, 1 inch. Now, if you can't see all these lines, this is the point of intersection that we just made. We came 1 inch off of center line in either direction, and we established that point. Now we're going to draw this line in here. So I'm going from this point of intersection to this point of intersection. So now I've just drawn this line right here. Now we're going to add the 1/2 inch. Half inch on both sides. Now we're going to draw this line in. I try to mention this every once in a while, and those of you that watch all of our lessons have already heard it, but now I'm going to draw this line in right here, actually our cut line. I've just measured off of this line. I measured from that line over a 1/2, and I've made myself a scribe line. Now, when I get ready to draw this other line, you never cover your project with your ruler. And let's do it wrong first. Here's my project. Here's my 1/2 inch line and my 1/2 inch line. Here's how you do it wrong. I'm going by my 2 marks, but look, I've covered my project. So sometimes these pieces of metal lay around behind the shear or in the rack, and they'll get a scratch on them, and you might be on the wrong scratch. But since I've covered my project, I really can't tell. But I want you to stay right there because I want you to see the difference between now, there's my scribe, and there's my scribe. Now I can tell, since I didn't cover my project, I can tell I'm in the right place because I can see I have drawn a parallel line. Now let's go back to this intersection, to that intersection. I'm laying this out just because I want you to get an idea of how to lay things out and how to add a tolerance for a flange or a hem. Now look, if I did it this way, I'd be covering up our project. Let's just go ahead and do that right there. Some of these scribes you're probably not going to see because the camera won't pick them up. But the important thing is don't cover up your project when you're adding that hem. So now let's cut it out. And the way snips work, and you've probably noticed if you cut almost anything, paper, cardboard, is that the snip would rather begin in a wide area on both sides as opposed to starting at 0. We're going to call that 0 because it's going to be a very sharp point. The snip wants to wander on this cut. So whenever you have the option, whenever you have the opportunity, if it's up to you, don't start on the point. Start down here. Same thing with our aviation snips. Don't go to the end of the snip. We're going to start this the same way. This is way better. Starting here and running off the end of the metal is better than starting here. Sometimes if we start here, it'll just fold this piece over. All right. Let's get rid of those. Now we're going to notch this with our yellow snips. I'm going to notch it. Look at this notch. I'm going to draw this in because this is important. If you can't see this line, all right. the way we're going to notch this is if we carried this line right here straight off the end of the sheet, that's where we're going to cut this. And then we're going to project this line down here, and that's where we're going to cut that one. Did you get that one? All right. So back to notching. Anytime you notch, that's the only time you go to the end of the snip. So notice we started over there because our next piece, now I'm covering the drop with my snip. See how I have a little hanger on there? That's what we want to do. I don't mind giving this a little wiggle, because the option is, what we don't want to do look at that, the piece dropped off. Isn't that beautiful? But look what we got. These are called overcuts. We're not going to impress our friends and neighbors with overcuts. And isn't that why we get up in the morning? So, a little hanger on there, that means you're doing good. That means you're not making an overcut. Again, you'll notice I notched here first. My second one is coming here. Then I'm going to also cover that with my thumb. We don't want anything that's shaped like that to come toward our face. Starting from this side, finishing here. We know if it's a little hanger on, that means we know we didn't make an overcut. Now, what we're going to do on this side is we're going to look at this point of intersection, right where these two intersect, and we're going to cut that off. Because we're going to fold this one over, and we're going to fold that one over, and that's going to give us a real nice corner. All right. Bam. Now we're going to put a little relief cut in here. Yeah. I like it. All right. Now that you've already seen how we lay one out, we went through all the trouble to make one. We don't have to lay this one out. Now, we already have a pattern. We already have a template. So like I said, I realize this is really shiny material, and you may not be able to see that scribe at home, but watch this. I see it. And if only one of us can see it, it's better that it's me. Now let's go ahead and notch that. We're going to start here. And we're going to come over here. If we get a little hanger, that's good. And notice the path of my notching, the direction. I'm cutting this so that whenever I finish this cut, that the drop is going to go away from me. It went away from me. Now, that was right. Here's wrong. Now, I can see this piece. I can see it in its entirety. If I can see it, that means it can come to me if it wants to. Let's do it wrong. Did you see that? It was able to come my way because the way I was holding the snips. Let's do this one wrong just to drive the point home. This is wrong. Now look. You see that little pointy devil dog? I can't even get myself to do it. I'm just going to carve it with my thumb. So what happens is if you cut this off, right when you get to the end of the cut, this piece can come up. We don't want it doing that. We have to draw these lines in because this is the one that we used our template on, so it doesn't have lines, it doesn't have marks on it. One of the other ways that we can do it is we could have, if this was the piece that we were making, I could have marked that, notched it, and then laid it on top of this one. Could have scribed it out. Step 1. Step 2, I could have transferred that scribe line through to the piece below. And sometimes this is what we do. So now what I did is I took the prick punch to that scribe line and I transferred it through this piece onto this one, so that now whenever I get ready to bend this one up, now I have the same mark. I've transferred that mark through this metal onto there. But the problem is these don't always go away in the bending process, and we're trying to make something kind of pretty. So we didn't do it. We took the extra step of marking. All right. We got 3 legs. Let's go over to the break and bend them up. I'll see you over there. All right, are we ready? So we've got the 3 legs for our triangle table. We're going to use the magic of camera work. I'm going to bend one up, and one thing we always want to be aware of is our sequence of operation. The number one thing you always do first is the thing that affects your piece in the smallest way. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to bend all these hems, and then we're going to bend the leg up and do that. Make this bend last. If we made this one first, it makes the hems difficult to put in, and in some cases it makes it downright impossible. All right. The front of the break here has a 1/2 inch bending leaf. This is the bending leaf on the bottom. So you'll notice a lot of times we use a 1/2 inch because we don't even have to mark it. Look, all I got to do is put it here flush with the front. Look, if I line it up with the front, it's automatically a 1/2 inch hem. Or a 1/2 inch 90. Okay. I did the 2 long sides first. Now I'm going to flatten it out. Let's do the bottom. You can't see it, but I was sticking out my tongue right there, concentrating. pretty hard. Now, last step. Now we're going to go to that V that we gave ourselves. That's a good indication of where we want it. Now on this one, when I get ready to do this, since we've made a hem, you'll notice my handle isn't all the way in the lock position because we don't need to smash it. Are you ready? So this is a triangle table, so we're going to do the wild approximated guess, the WAG method. That's about what our leg needs to be. I'm going to bend the other two up, and I'll see you guys back over at the table. You already watched it one. These two are going to be the same thing. I'll see you over there. We're back. Look at this. These are the three legs that we bent up. Has the hem folded all the way around. Before we put these on the table, let's just hit them with the file. Give them a little bit of a fine tune. I like it. I'm going to tap this one down a little bit. Close that hem a little bit more. Let's see. Good, good. A little more. A little more. All right. Now, we're going to put our rivets down from the top, 1/2 inch. Now, I'm scribing these on here. So these scribes are going to be visual to the observer. So if you didn't want to, you could scribe this with a marker that you could wipe off, make it disappear. So I'm going, let's walk through one complete leg. So I'm going to 1/2 inch down from the top. There's a 1/2 inch down from the top. Then I'm coming in a 1/2 inch in from this end. That's going to give me an intersection where a rivet is going to go. Let me draw that in here. So I did a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch. That's going to give me an intersection for a hole. And then the other one from here is in a little bit more. It's in 3/4. So let's go to the 3/4. We had to come in 3/4 on this one because when we bent up our 16-inch round, I wanted to make sure that that rivet does not go off the end of our tabletop. That one right there. Man, that's beautiful, isn't it? I made a note here that if you have time, go back to our episode of sawing versus shearing, and it'll explain that hawk bill that we talked about earlier. Okay, so three-quarter. I'm going to go ahead and on one of these, I'm going to go ahead and mark this out just so you can see what we're looking at. I put a mark on there that's a 1/2 inch in from the end. And then we went a 1/2 inch in from this end. And then we came 3/4 of an inch down from that one, just so we didn't miss that round. Let's do the same thing on this side. So a 1/2 inch in, a 1/2 inch. This one we had to go 3/4. Now, it's totally our choice. And since it's our choice, let's drill these holes out here in the wide open spaces. Every time that drill turns, it has to be removing metal. If you're not removing metal, you're creating friction, a byproduct of friction, heat. So you always push as hard as you can reasonably push. And always keep your hand in a safe place. You notice that my hand is not, I'm not trying to drill between my fingers. We don't want to do that. All right, I already showed you how to do it right. Here's how to do it wrong. That was wrong. Did you hear all the spinning and not all the cutting? Back when we had employees, ooh, that was hard. That was a noise I didn't want to hear. It wears out the drill bit, and the heat work hardens the material. So it actually makes the hole harder to drill. Last one. You'll notice I have an old junky piece of plywood up here because occasionally I'll drill a hole in it. I'm not opposed to drilling a hole. That right here, this ain't a deal breaker. Because I have a piece of plywood that it has a short life expectancy. I don't mind drilling into it. If this was a really awesome bench, oh, good heavens, don't do that. All right, let's go back to our triangle table. Let's clamp our leg on here. I'm just making it flush with the top, straight across there. Oh, I like that. Flush with the top. All right, you guys take a break. I'm going to put the rest of these legs on. You already see how the leg goes on. I'm going to put the rest of these on. I'll be back with you in just a second. All right, I've got these 2 legs on. We're down to the last one. Again, always keep yourself in a safe place when you're drilling. I was going to drill that second hole. You saw me balk. What happens sometimes is when you drill the first hole, things move, and if you drill a series of holes, when you go back to fill all those holes with your rivets, they don't always line up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drill a hole, put in a rivet. Drill a hole. Put in a rivet. Oh, let's see if we can tap that belly button out. Oh, that's down there pretty good. I've got a little block of, this is called a dolly bar. And let's see if we can tap that out. We don't want to hit it too hard. That's not the object. Man, that's beautiful. So there you have it. We have a triangle table with some cool little legs. You can make that any size triangle you want, any height you want. You can make it a square, you can make it a rectangle, you can make a chuck box. And I think yeah, that wraps up our lesson. I showed you how I modified the soldering iron. Show you the knife sharpener for a deburring tool. That's it. That's it. So today was a triangle table. I've never seen one before. If you guys make one, send us a picture. Thanks for coming by. Sheet metal is fun. I've had a blast. My wife has had a great time. You should see the smile on her face right now. We will see you guys on the next one. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be fun because sheet metal is fun. See you guys on the next one. Good night.